Why greetings everyone, it's GleeCon, and I am here once more bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft, so thank you so much for tuning in. On the last episode we covered a lore in short. It was actually a combination of a Warcraft encyclopedia where we talked about Volstan Staghelm, a little one-sentence blurb. That's all this poor kid's life has been reduced to. And then we also looked at an in-game lore that talked about Egwin and the dragon hunt, basically the beginning of the snowball that leads towards what we now know as Warcraft, with orcs living on Azeroth. We're going to wrap up Felwood today on our classic long play where we do every single quest of every zone. This is our alliance run, so then next long play we'll kick off Horde. So stay a while and listen. We're actually in Teldrassil because the bags are getting a little full, and we have some cloth that we can turn in. So basically, once you get, since we're doing every quest in the game, one of the things that we can do is turn in rune cloth. Rune cloth has 2 layers to it. You can turn in a stack of 60, just like you can for every kind of cloth, except for linen. But you can also, then after that it opens up a repeatable, and you can turn in 20 at a time. It's just a good way to get rep. I'd say it's probably the easiest, best way. Once you get to a certain point, just stack your rep and stack your rune cloth and keep turning in stacks of 20 whenever you get it. When we do finally finish Felwood, which is taking us a long time because you do have to grind up to neutral with the Timber Maul. So we're going to finish that grind today. We're at 2,000 out of 3,000, so we have 1,000 rep to grind. You get 5 per Timber Maul kill, so worst case scenario we will have to kill 200 mobs today. But you also get every 5 feathers or beads that you collect, you can get a turn-in of 50, and the drop rate is somewhere in the ballpark of 1-3.
Hail, friend. A moment of your time, if I may. We have endured much in our trials and tribulations.
Alright, I'm going to skip his talking because we've read this on the other cloth quest, but here's a donation of rune cloth. I decided to go here because 1, it's closest, and 2, this is the capital I'm least likely to get to. Contessa, you've been a tremendous contributor to our cloth drive. As we work hard to replenish our reserves, one form of cloth remains critically low, rune cloth. We are in absolutely dire need of it, and we hope that you will be able to help us, as you have in the past. If you are willing, please bring me what rune cloth you can spare. We'll initially accept a single donation of 60, and then we'll go from there.
Fantastic. These will go right to use, I assure you. Thank you again for your assistance. We'd certainly be lost without you. With all the donations you've made, I would certainly process any additional rune cloth donations you care to make in the future. Just be sure to check in with me, and I'll personally make sure that your good deeds won't go unrecognized.
And now, first of all, 6,600 XP is pretty good. 150 rep, but since I'm human, I got 165, and we'll do additional rune cloth. Greetings again. Once again, Contessa. Our need for rune cloth is constant, and we can always use additional resources if you are willing to part with them. An additional stack of 20 rune cloth, I will make sure that you are recognized for your continuing efforts on behalf of Darnassus. Whenever you're ready to hand in the stack of rune cloth, I'll accept it.
Adventurer, without heroes like you working on behalf of the tribe, we'd surely suffer.
The tribe?
Thank you for your continued efforts.
Okay, and then that just gives you no XP, but 50 rep every time. We'll now be saving up. We already have 40. We will be saving up until we get another 60. Okay, we need to find
Feel free to
someone that can just sell us some tailoring goods. Or that can repair, rather, is what I more meant to say. This is the craftsman. We might have to go to the tradesman's terrace. We are close to leveling up, but we can't do anything about that here in Darnassus. So we're going to fly back in just a minute. I do want to visit a shop, possibly even the bank, but we need to find a shop with repair. Like I said, I know you can get them down in the Tradesman's Terrace. But that was pretty much where we were at, that we kind of needed to take an aside just to offload. There you go, an axe merchant. Okay, so we have some things up here. Savage Fronds is for some quest much later. Some of these I can put in the bank. What we can do is work on Mage Weave, because we're still at 275. Some point we will hit 290, and then that means we'll be able to get... I know there are bandages you can get heavy rune cloth at 290. You can also get... oh, I have a... Oh, 50. I have 50 rune cloth. The third step, yeah. And like I was saying, we need 80. So if we can get to 80 rune cloth, we also need to put this bag in there. We're saving up as well 1,000 gold so that we can learn how to ride. So that we can buy a mount, so we can buy a horsey. Oh, actually, I don't even know that we'll ever need that on this character, because we'll probably eventually get a paladin questline at 60 to teach us that mount, which will be cool. We'll work on that. I don't know what it will entail, but do these salves, we'll eventually toss those. Okay, got some heavy mage weave. These demonic runes, I guess I'll keep them. They might be useful at some point. Yes, I'll keep that. I'm gonna. This leather headband I'm keeping because I might want to try to do some swapping. Definitely gonna say, well, the large oak. We'll clean up the bag in a second, but we can sell this pants, this armor, this hammer, and the good old stone slayer that we've had for a while. And we've got a pretty good. We have 2 extra feathers right here. Okay, so now that's a pretty good baggage cleaning. We got to 283 on our first aid. So, about halfway up to that next tier where we can get heavy rune cloth. I don't know if at 300, if you get like a final layer. I do think there are 1 or 2 other first aid. Now, there are some elements of completionism that we're not going to do, because this is a completionist walkthrough, but a completionist only in terms of lore and questing.
I'm listening.
Alright, we've got some things here we need to take out. Are my boots? 25 gold to buy another bag space. That's unfortunate. Okay, no, but we can take this journeyman's backpack and replace this woolen bag. That buys us some spaces. Okay, and this large knapsack can replace this ooze-covered bag. I move it out. Okay, that buys us some more spaces. Okay, and I guess I can save them in there. That's the Scepter of Sargeras. We have all of these different... Yeah, some of those things like the snowman kit might be time for me to get rid of them. No, I'm not going to buy that right now. But we can stash a large opal, because that's not likely to be added on. And star rubies, we already have stacks of those. This woolen bag, I suppose I can keep it as well, because now we have 3 bags in there with 3 bag slots. At this point, I can sell the extras. Okay, this and this we can throw in there as well. Alright, I think that's probably pretty good. Because the rest of it is quest related. These things will get turned in. And that's good. That and we have a spot right there. This will buy us some time. Actually, that should go first. And now we can get on the flight path to go. Like I said, we will hit level 58 shortly. I'm really am shocked how low level we are compared to some of my other tunes. I guess it's really, we're just about a level behind because my Alliance Mage was probably about level 59, had just hit 59, and when he finished Felwood, and we're gonna just hit 58, so we're a level behind somehow, an entire level.
Mainland, we have
Alright, we're gonna go to
flying between Rotharan Village and Darkshore.
After this we'll have Ajara, and that's got some questing. It really doesn't have a ton to do, even though some of the stuff is endgame related, and we won't really get to it. It doesn't really get tagged as Ajara related quest lines, or it does. It's just tied into things that are so much later that Ajara is really not going to take us a long time. And then we can go into Ungoro Crater. I'm not making good progress in Ungoro. If you look at my spreadsheet where I kind of go ahead, as you can see, I've just done a few. Whenever you see yellow, that indicates that it's a neutral quest. That means I have to do it twice. Really what slowed me down a lot was I've kind of been not at 100% lately, so that's part of it. But also this Morrowgrain research, and it's essentially doubled, is time gated. It takes a long time. So if you're consistently playing and doing it while you're questing, like we will, it's not that bad. But when I do these things as a dry run to really get the nooks and crannies, I don't do them that way. So, like, if I get to this quest, then I'm stuck. I have to stop and do it on both. So, some of them, really, the time gating made that couple quests, those couple quests take a couple days. Also, some of them just take a long time. I'm about to do, I actually didn't do this one yet. I'm going to do that in the video, the Muegian Larian, but that's kind of about where I am. There's a decent amount of quests in this zone, and they're pretty much all real. That's one of the things that's different. While it says there's only 53 listed on Wowhead, a couple things, if you notice, just scrolling, there's only a couple that are a dungeon, one each for a class. So most of the 53 are real quests in the zone. Also, a lot of the times there's like some repeated overlap. Like there was more quests than that, or about the same as that in Felwood. There's more. But Felwood had so many versions of like the corrupted Songflower bloating out the list that wasn't real. So there's very little of that. Also, there are oftentimes test quests like this one, NYETXT. Usually it's signified if there's a question mark right there, that's a dead giveaway, but also the weird language. But if you look here, there's only one. So a lot of the times the lists get pared down when you filter out. See right here, it says 4 items filtered out. Filter quest rewards. Ah, because of it's filtering out Season of Discovery. I gotcha. So I shouldn't have messed that out. I don't even know what this is. I just got Knowledge is Power achievement. So they only 4 quests. These require Goblin and Gnomish Problems and the Haze of Evil and Zapper Fuel. But Haze of Evil and Zapper Fuel are also available in current. It's just there are raid versions of these quests that are available earlier. But that's not where we're on. We're starting with the 52s now. So most of these quests span from 52 to 55, except for the single one at the end that's a 56 that everyone always asks for help on, which is It's Dangerous to Go Alone. I love that. We'll talk about these quests when we get to that zone. But really, I'm very early on in the questing process. There are also, unlike the past few zones we've done, a lot of zones, a lot of quests that come from outside areas. Just about every capital has a quest tied to Ungoro, as well as Ratchet has a quest. Right here, volcanic activity. So we have some pickup that we'll have to do when we start that zone. And we'll see. Right now, like I said, we still have all of Felwood to do with Horde, and we still have Ajara to do on both characters. So we're building ourselves a little bit of leeway, and that's nice. I was actually going to do a short episode today because my Patreon episodes for the foreseeable future, for the next few months, are going to be long because I'm playing through Assassin's Creed 2 in a long play format right now. It's very, very fun, but I need, I use those days oftentimes as a sort of break, because when I'm doing 2 hours plus devoted to the record, plus I always devote more than that amount of time to my prepping, usually 3 to 4 hours of playing is, I can't sustain that every day. Right now it's the slow time, but that's gonna be ending. I already have some things this week. Tomorrow I have work stuff, so tomorrow I won't be able to do a long play like that. Oh, that person's trying to do establishing new outposts. I had that thought where they're like, if you can get on your Horde and convert the East Wall Tower so I can do this, please. That's actually what we will have to do ourselves. Dang it, I let my... This guy's pretty tough at level 55. That's what we'll do. I wasn't really that worried about that quest myself, but I was like, oh, you know what? We'll just end up doing that. We'll just get on there. That seemed a little bit weaker. Maybe... I don't know why, but... It did not seem like I was fighting as strong as when I had this Stone Slayer, but... Maybe it was just that... Some bad RNG. I got no crits in that situation. Because this sword is just strength scam, whereas the other one, Stone Slayer, I think maybe had like just a pinch, like a I'm trying to think of the right word. Like throw you a bone kind of situation of stamina. But overall, this has higher DPS. Alright, where are we at with this? Okay, so we are going for... Yep, we're just doing the grind right now. Ooh, that's good. They blend right in or spawned right there. So basically, every time we get 5 headdress feathers, we'll do some math. Figure out how close we are, how much more rep we need. Human paladin behind just popped up on me. So, cool. Give me some mana. Great. That guy... Now this Den Watcher just came. But we have another paladin that came and joined. So they seem to be... Oh man, there was nothing I could do. He hit me with 3 curses in one fight. So that was lame. But they have a sword and shield, so they're either holy... I can't uncurse that, which is lame. We'll give him a salute for helping me out. old Tyrion. Alright, so now we got hit with that curse. That was just really, really bad RNG where he decided that he was gonna... I mean, we pulled 3. That's unfortunate. We have one... We got 1 feather out of that, so that was our 3rd. For some reason we had 2 extra. I think I was trying to get right to that even 2,000 last time. Maybe I should start using Hammer of Wrath more. I don't know what the story is here.
Need to get closer.
Cool, that's a 4th feather. Let's do a little something, something. We'll eat our last sunfish. Yeah, that one's been sitting up there a while. Okay. And this will give us a little bit of, you know, stam. The sunfish doesn't heal a lot. Alright, so we could do these smoked bass, which is a nice spirit upgrade. Oh, I need to put thick leather in my bank, too. What else can we do? We have tons of the grilled squid, but I'm kind of saving those because they're really good. I have 1 fire water. We also have the wind blossom, which heal us a lot and give us stam. That's it. Those are our 3. We're going to need to do some serious... What's our fishing, by the way, on this character? 280. So we're already 1 level behind on fishing. Okay, so if we level up, we might have to do some fishing. I did talk about... I want to pull this I just want to pull it just a little bit. I don't want to aggro that shaman. Nice, got a crit in there. Okay. Go around in the back. But yeah, we might have to do some fishing in here just to see. Is it worth it? I think we have some bobbers. Yeah, we have bright baubles. These guys do hit with that lightning pretty decently hard, but... Oh. But I mean, they also don't... They're easier to kill, so... Come on. Just can't get that 5th feather. I did have some plans today so that it's not just me kind of boringly grinding these guys. These episodes, proof is in the pudding here, they do not get a lot of views, which is understandable. Because it's not, you're not learning anything, so you're only here for little old me. I did have some ideas to talk about some things. I was looking at some of the subreddit for Warcraft, and well, one thing, just to bring real life into it for a minute, I gotta tell you guys, I was a little bit worried. So, you know, I've talked about on the show before that I'm a government employee, which is true. And anybody that follows the news knows that the vast majority, unless you're in defense, and like, that's pretty much the only department I can think of. Unless you're in Department of Defense, you are, your departments have been under siege, and in the very least they've had cuts. So I have not talked to anybody else also in the government that has not undergone some kind of cuts. It makes people stressed. It makes people cutthroat with each other. There's a lot of meanness to each other. And I know there's an argument that, well, people deserve it, and I'm not gonna say I've never talked to someone at the job who, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you are just a leech on, you know, collecting a paycheck. But also, I don't think I've ever been to a workplace anywhere that doesn't have that category of people. There's just always going to be some people that just don't care enough about the institution that they work in. I'm going to pull that down there, and washer. And, oh, I just don't want to pull two. Maybe handle one. So that's just, you know, that's just like a thing, you know, that's not like something that's magical only to my field. Okay, so now it's going to be, what can we do here? And I'm going to I'm going to go actually walk away for a minute. See if I can get a heal up. Oh, he already woke back up. I want to get a holy light off if I can. But it just takes so much mana. And now I've... That was close. I didn't want to heal because they wrecked my healing with that curse and I had no mana. Did I get a feather finally? No. We need to eat a regular amount, and I don't even have regular food right now, like they have nothing for me. This curse is stopping my healing. I could eat one of these berries or whatever that I found, and that's about it. I could kill myself with a demonic rune. Anyway, so one of the things that has been up in the air, you know, on this show I've also talked a lot about, I'm at the point in my career where I've reached kind of the cap of where I can go, so whenever I have the opportunity or things open up, I try to get a promotion. Despite everything going on, the opportunities do still exist because you do have people that leave the field. They're always going to exist, and there's always, for me, it's just that there's always moving and shaking going on. There's always if one person leaves, it creates a ripple effect, and people get moved and tossed around, and there are always opportunities. So on the one hand, there's that 5, 6, 10 times a year I go and put my hat in various rings. I guess the good thing is that I get interviews and second interviews. The bad thing is that here I am years later and nothing to show for it except for a bunch of interview stories. I guess about how I did an interview and didn't get a job. Alright, but from the other side of it, why there's been uncertainty about my career is, like also most jobs, most professional level jobs. By the way, we hit our 5th one, so that's worth 50 in the pocket. So we're at 2140. So that's good. We're 14% done with today's journey. So like most careers, you need some kind of like professional licensure credentials that have to be updated. For me, some of mine last for a lifetime. Some of mine are rolled into other ones. Some require every 5 years, yada yada yada. So, in order to legally operate, though, I need to have certain like clearances and licenses renewed. Okay, so my deadline. This guy, I'm telling you, these Den Watchers are jerks. And then I cannot believe all of that, and he hit me with it anyway, and I had the wrong seal on, so... So, you know, I don't procrastinate on that kind of thing. So a year ago, I started this process. So a year ago from today was before we had an election, before all of this Doge stuff happened. It was plenty of time, and it was about 10 months before my license was going to be up for renewal. So I was starting, in my mind, significantly early. Well, basically, the person that is in charge of processing that and working with the higher levels of the government just backburnered, maybe because mine was so far out in advance, just backburnered my stuff, and it basically took so long that I had to get higher people in HR and stuff involved, because 6 months later there had been no movement on my application. So for 6 months of constant emails and following up and phone calls, there had still been no movement on my license, and so I wasn't super stressed because I had so much time. Then all this stuff happened. In the middle of all that time, all that stuff happened where basically there was an immediate temporary government freeze on a lot of stuff. So then I also felt like, okay, well, right now, probably people are fighting for their lives, and that's the least of their worries, and so I tried to be concerned, patient. But then, so finally, 8 months or so, 7 months after I started the process, they finally got back and said, okay, well, cool, there's a couple of hoops we're going to need you to jump through that are atypical. Okay? So that took a few weeks for me to get all that paperwork cleared up. So I did that. Then the person, and that was only after me getting higher levels of people involved. Then finally my phone calls were answered, my emails were responded to, and an actual conversation about what, in the light of everybody being audited and everything, what new things did we want to double check and cross our T's and dot our I's with, and new credentials and new people to get signed off on different things. So it's a big pain in the butt. So finally that happens. And again, they hit you with that. This is why I'd rather almost go to Winter Spring. This is not... Without the ability to remove curses, this is not better. I think I will. I think I'm gonna leave. Because this is not going any faster for me. We'll finish off this current stack of feathers we have, which means we're gonna need 4 more, but this is... Alright. I don't have my fist on right now. I guess, oh, I also have Nightfin Soup. That's a good one for mana restoration. The agility ones are best. Those are my best ones for DPSing. This is better for 10 minutes. Nightfin Soup is probably the better than the Spirit one. And then, of course, there's Wind Blossom berries. I guess I'll do the Wind Blossom berries. Why not? It's a stam boost, which is useless inside of dungeons for me. But not useless now, and it has a really good healing effect. So anyway, that's a lot of ranting on my part. It was a very frustrating situation. So after all of that, everything finally goes down. We're now 3 months away from my license expiring, and the person drops back into being my point of contact, slides back into just ghosting me all the time. So I don't know if that person just was over it too, was over their job. If I don't know, I don't work next to them. I just know that things that to me I feel like don't seem like they should take that long would just take 10 times longer than they had to. I don't know. So finally, again, after repeatedly talking and again, eventually having to go up the flagpole again and get that person to react, more time passes, and by this point, the whole Doge thing is under full sway. Everybody is in a terrible mood. Everyone is being audited, so that was another part of it. Basically, every government program that was allowed to keep its members and funding, the ones that were, whatever funding and members were allowed to have, were thrown into extensive audits. It's like, imagine if every single department of every single person was subject to an audit. Like, I don't know, anybody, if you're not used to that sort of thing, working at massive institutions that employ thousands of people, auditing is normal. It's a normal process. Everyone except for the Department of Defense has to undergo audits and knows how it goes and usually passes them. Unlike the Department of Defense, which has never passed an audit ever in its life. It just has the most budget and is not expected to pass an audit. So that's a whole other thing. You take what you will out of that. About whether you think it's appropriate that a $1 trillion branch of our government doesn't have to be held accountable monetarily in the same way that every other branch does. That's your... So anyway, it all boils down, and then now we start. Finally, they get moving on my stuff again. They do a couple more hoops to jump through again, and then they say, okay, well, now that you're about 2 months away from expiry of your credentials, the federal government higher up has decided that your application is flagged for an internal review, and they're essentially going to audit my application, and that's going to take some additional time. So at this point, now I'm starting to stress out because we're down to me only having a couple months, and now had it been flagged for review or whatever earlier in the process, fine. A year ago. So then I was kind of in this mind state where I'm like, well, at some point, if it expires, it is what it is, and I guess it's time for me to pick a new career path. Because if it expires, it's a whole different, like, renewing it is a whole different process. Like, if you're just renewing it because it's time, as opposed to you've let your everything expire, and now you need to renew. Now you need to basically, it's like going at it from scratch, essentially, again. And that's just... You might have to take, like, college courses, and you take a drastic pay cut if you're even allowed to continue working, while you wait on every, like, possibly years So I basically have, that's kind of been informing the way that I've been thinking about my career, just kind of taking it with a grain of salt. Like, maybe I'm going to keep doing this, maybe not. So at some point I did decide to just stop interacting with this person above me in the chain of command. That's this liaison, and just start talking with the higher department, federal department, on my own. And they basically told me to not sweat it, that all of my stuff was fine, or that like it was all my T's and I's and everything were crossed, and that this process takes a long time, but that it didn't matter, that even if everything did lapse, because the investigation or audit started before it lapsed, I would be retro, like my license would be retro renewed after the fact, and I would never have to worry about pay cut or anything like that. So that was good. Then I just basically let it go, because I wasn't worried about the actual like audit working out. Like nothing's changed in my life. So just let that roll. And so that today I did hear 2 months, over 1 year after I began to renew re-update my credentials. I did finally receive notice today that my audit was cleared, and I would be receiving my updated credentials in the mail shortly. So it looks like, and after being rejected in probably about 6 promotion opportunities over the past 3 months, 2 months, I'm kind of reaching a state where I'm just gonna have to, I can only control what I can control. That's really what I have to focus on, is understanding what I can control in my personal life and my physical life, and working on that, and I can control this show. So that was a really, really long aside to get to that point, and I appreciate you bearing with me. And I did have something World of Warcraft related to talk about today. So, no, I wouldn't say on a lighter note, but on a World of Warcraft note. There is, so I like to dip into the WoW lore Reddit. The problem is, I have to dip into it less and less lately, because everyone wants to talk about the War Within. And now they're even wanting to talk about the next phase, the Midnight or whatever. And we're not there yet. We won't be there for some time. So, yeah, our feather drop rate is terrible right now too. I don't know why we are having such a terrible drop rate on these feathers. It really is lame. Also, you had a couple people come and move me off of my normal spot, which is whatever. We're very, very close. We need about 5k, so we need about 10 kills and we'll level up. So that part's good, although we're not going to go travel. My rep grinding has been terrible because of the lack of feathers. This is really bad feather grinding. Really bad luck we've had on this. We're gonna eat another wind blossom berries. I am trying to build this stack of morning glory dew up. It's a lack of drinking. That also slows us down and makes me less efficient. All right, so what I have to do is kind of scroll through, and anytime I'm like completely not recognizing a name, or they're obviously talking about some things, like I know the Undermine is a dungeon now, and I know there are, you know, some bosses and things that are tied into that. So anytime I recognize talk about something, either I really don't know about it all, or sometimes it's about something and I'm like, oh, I have heard whispers of that, and I know that's about War Within. Like, I've really tried to cut myself off. I know it's about the Undermine. I know the Earthen are a big part of it. I know you go into the underneath, which is actually long been a suggestion that I've thought. Like, I think I've even actually years ago said it on this show. Like, they should just make a world underneath this world, and then they could like double the size of the expansions. Maybe at some point in time there will come a World of Warcraft 2, and where they just, I don't even know what would be the point of that, you know, like, because unless you were going to completely change every aspect and not make it an MMORPG, or let's say you do keep it, but you revamp everything, still, what's the point? Like, what? I guess unless you wanted to really take away content. And with the whole, like, stop killing games or whatever movement that's come out right now, and that's where people just don't want to lose their access to the things they love. Like, can you imagine if they ever shut down World of Warcraft servers? Like, they just say, you know, even if they're like, okay, in 2040, we're going to shut them down, it would still be tremendously sad. And if you think about it, it's... So, I know that Ubisoft, for instance, came out, and they were basically like, okay, well, you are trying to advocate a completely unsustainable business model for us. We can't be on board with it, yada, yada, yada. I suck so bad at that. And unlike last time, we have not been getting plantains. Nothing. We're just doing terribly on this. On the other hand, like, I fully, obviously sympathize with people that just want to be able to, like, think about the amount of money you've spent on cosmetics alone in WoW. And you want to take that away. So what you really need to be honest then with people is just say, like, look, if you buy a game, you are not buying it. You're renting it. And let's just be honest from jump, and let's call it that. Like, pay $20 to rent this mount. Or pay $50 or whatever, you know, to rent this set of cosmetics for the time that you play. Which, in a sense, it's what you're doing probably anyway, because it's just when you see a game like WoW that has been over 20 years in the making, or in existence, you do feel like it could exist for a long time. And I understand from a business angle, they're like, look, you're creating an unsustainable business model. Okay, well, sure. And like, at some point in time, Ubisoft itself could go out of business, and there might not physically be any human beings that, like, who... It's like if you decided to purchase a apartment complex. I was just waiting for that. I'm trying to think of a good analogy here. Like, let's say somebody can't afford to run their apartment complex. They don't want it. It's not profitable. It's a slum. and someone buys in, and then when you buy it, it turns out you have to continue, like, someone would expect you to keep, I don't know, running, paying, it's not a good analogy. But if you buy something, you can't necessarily be expected to just automatically go in there and keep funding it. I wouldn't, like, if someone bought Blizzard, it's not realistic to be like, I'm gonna buy Blizzard and you have to keep maintaining all of the things. We are no longer profitable or whatever. We don't, or whatever. Obviously, if it was a super profitable thing, there would be no buying or selling. You might hand the reins over, your stake might get bought out, but the company itself would continue to be owned. I mean, Blizzard was bought. It was bought by Activision or whatever. And they still kept these things going because there's profit to be had in them. But I understand. Anyway, I'm not too worried about it because at some point, if that were to ever happen and I was not done with this journey that I'm on right now, they ever shut the service down. There are private servers out there. People would do that. So this game has been long enough. And even if it required paying for it, yeah, I'm just not sure how to spend my money on this. I don't know what this best rotation would be. That's another thing, we're just so. That's 360 mana. Also, the feather drop rate is just so... I cannot believe we haven't even hit 10. Also, the rate that I kill characters on this. Anyway, so I understand, like, the people at corporate don't want to continue promoting games forever. And at some point in time, it is a business. So I understand that. But there should be a offline, like, that to me would be the best solution. Like, okay, if that's the case, then phase World of Warcraft out. Let's say that they decided it wasn't profitable, we're not going to support it, we're not going to pay someone. Then make an offline version. You know, make a version that has, and it will, if it deteriorates to the Wild West, and PvP is a nightmare, and then that is what it is. It's better than nothing. You know, if everything is camped and the economy is insane, and yada yada yada. Alright, so this is our 58. We can now go down here. I'm actually going to increase my healing light again to get that back up, and then we'll spend our last 2 on Blessing of Wisdom, because Blessing of Wisdom doesn't help me in the solo experience. It does. Okay, we're at 290, which is where we should be with our fishing. We need 10 points of fishing. We gotta do that. Maybe we'll do that in this episode. Maybe not. Ajara is not a good place to fish, by the way. But it will send us... I mean, this might be a good place to fish. Finally. Alright. So 10 feathers, which is the equivalent of 100... Actually, 110 rep, because of our humanness. So we're at 2360. So we're a little more than a third of the way done. Yikes. Really bad. Should I don't know. I'm on the fence about. Just grind. Gotta kill this dude first. Just trying to get away from that shaman. I really just didn't want him to heal him. I just resisted it, luckily. Oh yeah, we'll use the Scroll of Spirit. It'll help me a little bit. So, I don't know. I'm not the most qualified person to talk about that, about this whole stop killing games. I do think it's tacky when the CEOs want to come, like, try to teach the masses. No, the idea is I paid for something. I paid for property, and what you're telling me is, no, I did not. That's the difference here. Like, that's what I don't like. So you pay for World of Warcraft. You pay a fee to play World of Warcraft every month, and you pay a certain amount to buy it. So we need to completely get rid of that nomenclature if that's not what it really is. You're not buying anything. You are renting. You're paying a ticket to visit like it was a movie or a theme park. You're not buying anything except an experience. And the same thing with the in-game shops and all this. You're just paying to enhance your experience, which people do that all the time. You're not buying the seats on the airline when you buy a ticket, and neither are you buying it anymore if you upgrade to first class. So if you just don't, just don't lie, you don't create ad campaigns and like, oh, why don't you go buy this new game? Why don't you pre-order it? I don't know. Anyway, that was not at all what I was going to talk about. I don't even remember what got me going on that rant. Guy seems like he's doing pretty fine. Yes, he is. He doesn't need me. Came in and doubled him. His name is Utwerp. Utwerp. Alright, so what I did want to talk about actually is what I did find an interesting topic in Warcraft lore, which was which lore is the saddest part for you. And I do think some parts of this game, honestly, some parts of a lot of games just hit sad, and that can be really impressive. One of the most profound memories that I have in all of gaming was the first time I ever beat Zelda, whichever the one for Super Nintendo is, Link to the Past or something like that. Alright, let's go ahead and eat one. Oh, I didn't need to in terms of life, but Link's Awakening, maybe that's the one it is, actually. I don't know, the first Super Nintendo one, the only real Super Nintendo one, not the Game Boy one. I always get those two. I always get Link to the Past and Link's Awakening mixed up in terms of names. But the one where the famous one, the OG awesome Zelda game. The first time I ever beat that game, and it goes through like a montage at the end where you see how all the towns, all the people, what they're doing now that you've saved the world. There's little to no dialogue in it. At the very end, I think you put the Master Sword back in the Forest, and the quote-unquote the Master Sword sleeps again. And that was so bittersweet that the game was over. It was so nice to see the people that I fought for having a life after I left. Something about that, to my little 9-year-old, 10-year-old, however old I was, self, it was so impactful, and I cried. Like, that game, I cried when I beat that game. I don't know why that moved me so much. I've beaten it many times since then. Doesn't hit the same way. Maybe because I know what I'm going to get into, but I had spent such a long time with that game too, like trying to beat it, and it was also that part of it, like that I finally reached the mountaintop and beat the game. But So that does make me think, and there are moments in World of Warcraft, absolutely, that are undeniably sad. Maybe sometimes I'm standing out of range or something. Now I have no stuns available, so of course I'm gonna get cursed. It's also the constant lack of mana. Like, just don't have. I don't know, I wonder if I can't cleanse the flowers anymore. Because I don't have the... I threw away the beacon because I didn't want to keep getting these shards. So I wonder if because, even though I have the salves, if I can't cleanse them because I don't have the beacon. I don't know. So, I think each expansion has some very interesting candidates for ultimate sadness. By the way, we haven't had a single feather again drop. I do not understand why our drop... Like, this is an abysmal drop rate. Abysmal. So we have done 310. Okay, so take away 10% of that. That's 31. So we've done really 280 about worth of kills. Which is 40, almost 60 kills. And in those 60 kills, we've received... I think we had 3 already. So we've done 7. So our drop rate right now is less than 1 in 10. Ridiculous. Right about 1 in 10 on the feather. That's terrible. That is not at all... That means every feather at this point, because the drop rate is so bad, is equivalent to... Normally a feather would be equivalent to 10, so now each feather is worth like a rep. Like maybe 1 point. It's really bad RNG. I had really bad RNG with some of these in Ugoro Crater. So, I think each expansion probably has some good candidates, and there are some really memorable moments for me. So here's what the original person posted. They said, it's the Dungarok Dwarves. Now, Dungarok, trying to remember, I thought Dungarok was maybe wetlands? No, that's Grim Metal. Dungarok. Let's look up Dungarok real quick. I can't remember what they are. Oh. So they... Once Cataclysm comes, so that's part of it. This is why I'm not as fresh on it right now. So it sounds like the storyline is essentially they are a team, they're a section of dwarves that are there helping the people of Hillspread. Sounds like in Cataclysm they were killed and their ghosts were controlled by the Forsaken to fight the Alliance. And then in BFA, some more negative stuff happens to them. So I'm not as familiar with it enough. I am really, really, really eager to play. Like, I can't... I'm to the point now where there's just so much... Like, there's not enough Classic left for me to really want. But there is some important stuff. But it's tough for me. There's not enough... There's just way less meat on this bone than there is on other parts to come. We do need to get there. Because there are still some interesting things. There are some funny little... Also, part of what happens with Classic is, by the time you got to the end, like, you can absolutely tell that the devs were already working on expansions and patches. Like, Felwood is empty for the most part. Ajara is empty for the most part. Ngoro Crater, now that one seems a little cooler. Has more to do, and there are some things that come up, but not really holding my breath for major lore. I know there are some cool lore things tied into it, but it's just like with Felwood, it's like they ran out of time. Lastigland should have some cool lore. I do think that, you know, being the home of the Dark Portal, should have some good spots. Western and Eastern Plaguelands, though, that has some major lore, particularly Western Plaguelands. So that should be cool. Winterspring, I am not anticipating much lore. Burning Steppes with Blackrock Mountains. So those couple, the Plaguelands and the Burning Steppes should be just chock full of good lore. And then we will have some things like the dungeons, Scalamans, Zul'Grub, the quests that go along with those. I read an interesting post the other day where they were talking about the leveling experience of what it was designed to be, and how people just spam dungeons a lot and blah blah blah. And somebody was like, they were talking about the way that dungeons were originally envisioned to be played by the creators. And they were like, well, the game was designed for you to basically spam dungeons, or the game was designed for you to rarely play them, or whatever, play them with a group, or this, they were supposed to be in-game. And somebody made a great point. They're like, no, actually, dungeons were designed to be something you visit one time, and then that's it. You're just going there for the quest. That's why a lot of the storylines of them, it's like, oh, you beat Van Cleef or whatever. There we go. We got another feather there. 13. And I was thinking to myself, like, that is actually legit. Like, that makes the most sense. They wanted you to run a dungeon once for the story as a team. Maybe twice. Maybe like an intro visit, or, you know, or you do a wing or whatever. And it was only because they were so popular that then they re-envisioned their approach to the game. They're like, actually, tons of people just want to spam dungeons and run them over and over again with a group of people. Which is true. People really like that. I prefer to play for the story. So I like to run a dungeon. I mean, I'll run it on multiple characters. But I thought that was just a really cool way to think about the game. How now, since then, obviously, since expansions have come out and everything, they've learned their lesson, and now dungeons are designed with major replayability in mind, which is why you start to have a more fondness for quick dungeons that can be navigated, dungeons that are filled with some set-piece puzzles and not insanely hard to get to, you know, creating summoning stones and all that stuff. But they said they give a close second to the Night Elves' tragic history. It says, but the scope is just so huge. Now, Night Elves' tragic history being, I guess, the War of the Ancients, how it started, the loss of their immortality, the separation of the Blood Elves from the Night Elves and the High Elves from the Night Elves, the formation of Naga, Highborn. Goodness, that guy failed again. There we go, got another feather. Drop rate's getting up a little bit. later on, the corrupt world trees, the Sylvanas' destruction, which honestly, I can't wait till we play through retail because I know it happened, but somehow Sylvanas destroying Teldrassil, I'm just like, I guess that happened? Like, it's not really tangible for me. Like, I don't really know the context. Oh, what is this? We're getting the loot we were getting before. We got a plantain, and we got to fit another one. All right, so now we have 30 of these, thank gosh. Okay, so we're at 165 to turn in from there. So 2547. 2547. We're past halfway. And what's our time? We are well past halfway on time. So that is unfortunate. This grind is taking so much longer this time. It's crazy. Well, it might squeeze another episode. I just can't believe that. Like, it is legitimately taking significantly longer to grind this time. It's not even a question. We're not dying or anything, it's not even a contest. I don't get it. So, other people have brought up some other good ones. Some good contenders. There we go. We got another... Actually, you know what? Now I'll eat those plantains. So, they said that Pamelis, Redpath, and Darrowshire was pretty messed up. I'm a little rusty on that one because we haven't done that. I'm pretty sure that is either Western or Eastern Plaguelands. Don't remember where Darrowshire is. If it's that's how rusty I am on it. I don't remember if that's this story right here or if it's one of these, but I'm pretty sure it's about a young girl who is a ghost now and has a whole dead family. So yeah, that is a memorable storyline, even though I haven't done the classic version in years and years. The fact that I can still kind of remember it. Questing in the Warlords of Draenor version of Shadow Moon Valley, where Shadow Moon Valley is just destroyed. The whole world is kind of corrupt. I've only done that from start to finish, every quest once. So I'm pretty sure maybe twice. Because there was a time when I decided to go and level alts through each expansion once outside of my completions, but like I said, I skipped that expansion. So the entire Morning Rise question in Dornegal, that has to be new because I don't know what Dornegal is. The Windrunner Spire Medallion, don't know. I mean, Windrunner, is that related to the Blood Elf starting line? Because Windrunner is kind of messed up. Anything related to the Draenei, I mean, if you read the books, yeah, they have some crap. They got a crap. Draenei. Old White Bark quest in Silvermoon. Almost anything related to Silvermoon or the Ghostlands, that cello hits you directly in the heart. I mean, they also... Anytime you're talking about, like, hey, this is a people that was essentially massacred, that's always going to hit particularly hard. But this conversation, I think, is interesting. So then they talk about this Runus the Shamed. Ouch. Dang it. I go to step away for just 1 second, and this is what happens to me. I burn through all my mana. I don't know who that is, too, so I'd have to... Some of these, I'd be like, I'm gonna need to go ahead and replay. Oh, it is Legion. Lunas the Shamed. I don't remember that, but the Suramar questline is supposedly what it's from, which is awesome. Just in time. Nope, I knew it. When they just get into that spam mode, you're cooked. Oh, my two-handed swords is on the rise again. Alright, we are up. We've gotten 3 feathers since my latest rant. The second destruction of Dalaran. Where they... I guess they rip it up. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the details of that. I know that... I remember it has something to do with the Kirin Tor. Happens sometime between Wrath of the Lich King and Legion. Yeah, the Kirin Tor questline, which I believe is kind of like, I don't know. Can't remember if the Kirin Tor turned on the people, if the people, go against the Kirin Tor, a little of this, a little of that. I only vaguely remember it. A lot of these things, it's been years. But I think it's going to be really cool to do. I really can't wait. And a lot of these things I only ever did once. So, like, I've done the Burning Crusades quest lines a lot. I'm very familiar with them. I've done Classic now, To Death. I will never forget these quests. Wrath of the Lich King, I've done a lot as well. Very solidly. I feel pretty confident on my memories of them. Cataclysm now, I've done a pretty decent amount, but I do not remember everything. But I feel like it's at least the vanilla version, the classic redos of vanilla. I've done those a pretty solid amount. But the actual Cataclysm quests, I think I've done twice. I did them once with my wife. And maybe not even all of them, just some of them, I think. And then with my son, something like that. And I did them once on my own. Like the whole underwater one. I was Vajara, whatever, but yeah, something like that. And like the Twilight Highlands, I don't know that I've done that one more than one time. And Deep Home, don't know if I've done that more than once. So there's that, and then Warlords of Missa Pandaria. That one I've played through at least the beginning zones quite a few times. That's a fun one. My son likes it, so doing like the Emerald Forest in the first couple zones, getting over to Crossfire Wilds and stuff, that I have done. Later Missa Pandaria parts, not so much, like the Town Long Steps, and you start to get over into that area, that's Warlords of Draenor, I've done little to none. Like I said, I played through it once on my own. Don't even know if I ever did it a second time. Nice. Okay, that might have been a 5th. Yes, alright, so now we have 20. That's the rate we should be hopefully dropping these. Alright, so 20 is going to be 220, so we are at 1660, so we're now 2/3 of the way through, and that only took us like 5 minutes, so if we can get an actual respectable drop rate, we should be okay. We need basically 330 more rep out of these guys, which is around 65 kills. Instantly. What a jerk. 65 kills, and where am I on time? I mean, I would ideally want to be done. We got one right there, that's great. I'd want to be done in the next 5 minutes. I mean, 10 minutes. Might not happen today, but I'll go a little bit long. It's so close. Seems like we're not, but if you keep countless feathers, it's better than seems. Gosh, I hate this right there. We'll eat a windberry after this. Legion I've played through some, but like some things like the Suramar questline I've only done once or twice. It's awesome. I do really like it. Another feather. Okay. So we've already gotten 2. We're gonna eat this, hopefully. BFA, I've played through the start a lot with a bunch of different alts, but I still, like, I haven't done all of it, and I don't think I've done the Horde questline as much. And then Shadowlands, I've done to death. Shadowlands, I've done 1,000 times. And Dragonflight, I've done a pretty solid amount of time, and it's recent enough. So there's definitely a big blind spot that I really haven't spent enough time. Because also at some point in my completionist goings on, I realized I would do a project like this. You know, I've been doing this project for 4 years or so, but at some point, 2 or 3 years before I ever even started, I realized I was going to do it. And I started planning it in my head, and at that point in time, I kind of checked out on the lore while playing, because I wanted to be able to experience a lot of it together with you guys. And it's just, this first game is, Classic is so time consuming and so tedious that it's just, I didn't realize it was going to take us this long. Should have. And at some point it is what it is. We might, I mean, for certain quests, I really want to get as much as I can get done of, like, raiding and stuff like that, but that's going to require that I find a guild who is willing to essentially hold my hand. I just need to do raids 1 time each, but will I find a guild that will allow me to drag down their whole raid by letting me tag along on a Nax raid, you know, towards the end? Like, are those kind of things going to happen? Maybe. Or we'll just have to pick one character, get really strong on them, and just do that in the off time, and then if I can ever do it... Oh, dang it. Terrible. Okay, that was bad. I was not paying attention to the fact that I was fighting a Den Watcher, and I let them aggro that whole camp. Stupid of me. Alright, then... So people talk about that the second destruction of Dalaran. That seems to be popular. People say what makes it worse meta-wise is they took, in my mind, what was the wrong lesson from it. Questline makes sense if the city is destroyed from arrogance or an abuse of magic. That's typical in other franchises, and they like the Wizards in the Black City and Dragon Age, okay? But the city got blown up while they were being heroic and trying to save the world, and they were tricked. I just don't remember enough of that storyline. Syndragos' story, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if that's the drag... Well, her story is super, super, super sad. I think you actually... That's Wrath of the Lich King over there in little frozen area where essentially she is the consort of Malagos. Yeah, seeing her again and exploring her trauma was this person's favorite part of Dragonflight. It is, yeah, it is traumatic. It is messed up. And there's a lot of things, especially even already happening in Classic, where you're just like, wow, we are kind of crappy. I don't know if they wanted to keep your options open to be sort of a villainous type of character, because that's popular in RPGs. You want to have the choice. And I don't know that you get to keep it still. Like, I don't know that that choice really exists as much anymore, for better or for worse. But we do some bad things. I mean, just recently, we were on an episode in Maraudon, where we were helping the Twilight's Hammer for no reason. Just because they asked us. Or the goblins like to poke fun all the time, where they're like, you just can't say no to a quest. But Cindergrosa's story of her being consort to an insane person. Then, let's see, what else do we have? The Draenei as a whole, the rise of, especially during the rise of the Horde, like the story, the novel that we read, yeah, that's pretty, it's pretty horrific. The just complete pillaging, ravaging that the insane, bloodthirsty orcs did against the entire species of Draenei. And you could argue that the Draenei were sort of... I mean, they weren't a conquering race, really. They were like a refugee race. So... I mean, there's that little element that they fled, so they didn't kind of invade a homeland that wasn't theirs, but they did try to keep to themselves. They didn't go like Christopher Columbus on them. Pamela Redpath, see, this person mentions that one again. It is a sad storyline. That was a sad storyline, which we'll play on this camera soon. Yeah, they keep a lot. That one keeps coming up, so that's a very... And the Fall of Quel'Thalas, yes. Very tragic, especially when we read it in that book that... maybe it was a multi-part book series with a few chapters. That is really, really sad. Can't argue. I can't argue against that. Oh, you know what? I wish I was getting more of these. I would make some little bandages or whatever. That would have been a great idea. Kept those mage weaves, although they did sell for a good amount of money. I guess I can only be so sad. I might actually need a drink of juice. I might have to open up and drink one juice. How to get this den watcher away from his mates. So that if when he calls for help, there's nothing he can do. I wonder if you keep walking, if they'll never use that curse. Can we cheese them that way? Alright, we'll drink a juice. A morning glory too. Now for me, let's see, what do I think of that are the most sad quest lines in... Let's go by expansion. How about we do that? And I'll just say some things that jump off the top of my head. Because Classic, there's a pretty solid amount of options that we could pick from. I think, that storyline that you go through with Duskwood, where you follow around and you find the dude that essentially murdered this family. And there was some weird, like, pedophilia going on, and that whole storyline is messed up, and I guess kind of sad. The whole yeah, I think the Darrowshire, that's probably gonna take the cake if you really want to look at it some. There is a lot of tragedy that comes from, like, anything where you get to talk to one of the remaining high elves and how they're pretty much gone. That pops up on the list. Probably because we're so deep in the weeds with it. I mean, the idea, some things are more messed up than sad. Duskwood on the whole, and the whole Morladim quest line where you eventually have to kill that girl's dad and he, you know, died, or the other guy whose family was killed by the Dark Riders, and old Jitters had to watch. That's messed up. So Duskwood really is full of some dark, dank, horrific things. Of course, you have Mancrick and Mancrick's wife. Even though it's a meme, his wife was brutalized, and all he can do is kill Quilboar over it. It's pretty messed up. I swear, every time I go to scratch my neck or something like that, they use one of those things. Trying to think about some of the other options. Burning Crusade, there are some good ones. In particular, there's the town in the Nether, the Twisting Nether, the Nether Storm, where everybody in the town is kind of like a trapped ghost, trapped by this mage's magic, and they wander the town. That's a very interesting and sad storyline. Of course, you're going to deal with some of the other things, the Ocean-Dune and the ghost Draenei around Ocean-Dune. That provides some sadness. There's a Blood Elf town in oh no. Okay, gotta get the heck out of here. My Divine Shield pops off. I'm gonna have to pop a potion most likely. Okay, go de-stopped to cast. Might kill me. To say, sometimes when you're running, they'll give you like an auto resist on magic. That was close. Close to be sure. I did get that one guy though that I was fighting to go loot him. Again, he was a den watcher or whatever they're called. But I would say the most. Oh, there's also the in Shadow Moon Valley. There's the. He's just gonna go fight all three, huh? 60 Orc Shaman. He's like, I don't care. I'll fight them all. Even at 60, I don't fight these guys like that. The Path of whatever it's called. There's a lot of the stuff in the Twisting Nether is really messed up. But that particular story, also the Sporagar and the fungal giants, like that corruption that's going over them, that's kind of messed up. Alright, so now we're at 25. So 5 times 55 is 275. So we are at 827. So we need 100 and basically 175 more rep. And we're about 5 minutes over, but that is doable. We're going to be a little bit over, but man, we only need 175 more reps, basically. Okay, so let's see how we get that. And every 5 of these guys that, really every 10 of these guys that we kill is worth 55 also. So, at most we need to kill around 30 guys. If in that 30 we get 5 feathers. There we go, we got 1, and we got a helm. A male stam helm. Then we probably can get away with killing about 20 guys, which that's very, very doable for just a few minutes of time. And at the rate we're going, okay, there's a second feather. Good. Keep on keeping on. Yeah, see on this, like on my mage, I might actually fight some of these, even on my feral druid. But this paladin, I gotta say, is not equipped. I don't know. She just, sure, she's got some healing and some survivability, but maybe I need more power. It's just, I will, but there's a very strong likelihood I switch her over to healing when we get to true endgame. A little bit of a waste of mana there. Okay, we got a third feather. It's good. Right. This person is a grunt, so I don't. They just come out here storming into battle. Oh, there's some thorium. We'll go for that after this too. We need all the thorium we can get on this girl. Come on. Let's see if we can get this. Alright, alright. Alright, so as we wrap that up though, what other sadnesses? Oh, we get 2. And I'm at 300 mining. Isn't that great? Wrath of the Lich King also filled with some major tragic... Oh, I mean, if you're also talking about Burning Crusade, yes, the whole Ghostland storyline, really, the intro zone for both Elwyn Forest and, Elwyn Forest. Eversong Forest? Whatever it's called. Oh, I can't even remember that. Got some sadness in it for sure. Wrath. There's a sad storyline with the what are those guys called? The walrus people. I can't remember anything right now. Brain is shot, I guess. Oh, we replaced our morning dory glue. I don't know if I should be concerned if I'm having a stroke. The walrus people that are like ghosts that have been killed by some scourge, the Nerubians, that's a sad storyline. A lot of the stuff just about when they kind of reference, when they do a little referencing of what Ice Crown was like before. There's some when you're actually questing around Ice Crown. Same thing with the troll Zuldrak. There's some interesting and sad. It's really there's a lot of sad and depressing parts behind it. Trying to think of what sticks out to me, what I came away with. Probably the storyline, oh yeah, in the Storm Peaks, where a combination of when you get to see the Arthas thing firsthand as someone that didn't read the books at that point and didn't play Warcraft 3 before playing that. That was intense little storyline for me. I like the Grizzly Hills. It's not sad. There's also a quest line where you are kind of up in the north. I think it's Grizzly Hills also, but it's where it's snowy. Or maybe it's one of the lands leading up to Grizzly Hills. And there's like some hippogriffs or something like that. And there's like a mom that's protecting her eggs, or it's a griffin or something, a flying creature. And there are these dryads around town that have been corrupted. I don't know, there's just these some little sad elements. Cataclysm had... Yeah, sad is hard for me to say, because Warcraft often gets goofy a lot, too. There is the story in Stone Talon where you basically, like, one of the leaders of the horde, you, like, throw off the building. It's really sad, it's weird, there are a couple little quest lines like that where the whole thing is really a war. I guess you could argue that what's going on with Thrall is kind of sad. You could say the things that are happening in Twilight's Highlands that happened to the Wildhammer dwarves there, and things that happened to the dragons at Grimbatal. All of that's sad. I don't have a... I did get a headdress feather. I just pulled this guy. Let's see what happens here. If I can get a heal off, great. Good, I resisted. That's huge, because that will allow me to get this heal off. I'm trying to even remember what endgame was like on Cataclysm. Goodness. Okay, we got another feather. Alright, where are we at on feathers now? Okay, so 30 is going to be 55 times 6. So that's 330. So we're at 948. So close. So close. 948. Now we can start the real countdown. 2,948, but 948 is where we're at right now, and we're 4 feathers away. If we got 4 feathers, we'd be done. Great. Let them chase me. Okay. So 954. We are now less than 50 rep away. 954. I will bust this potion off if I have to. Which I think I will because he raged. Okay. 954. So close. Come on. Great. So 959 and a second feather. 959. Screw it, I'm drinking another one. We also do have 80. So when we go to Iron Forge, which we will do, when we do our setup for Ajara, we're going to go and do our Paladin leveling. 959 is where we're at. We have 2 feathers. So what will we get first? Will we organically get there with rep? Or will we get 3 more feathers? We shall see. 959. Yeah, we have really, really bad RNG this time. We're gonna wind up being about 20 minutes more than I wanted to be, but it's okay. Tomorrow it'll be a short one. And then we start for Alice. 59 and 965 did not get a feather. 965. Okay. Nice. Come on. Oh no. I didn't even notice until it was too late that I hit that other one. Dang it. 970. Now we have to walk back. That is dumb. Okay. I completely did not see that I aggroed the second one until the last second. And by killing his friend, he raged. I saw it and I was about to pop something. Alright, we need 30 more rep. So, at most, we need 6 kills. Jeez, that's dumb. He called for help, which is what brought him over. Okay, that answers that question because there's a cleansed wind blossom right there. Just okay. So I'm not sitting here mentally laying back what I did wrong in the game. It's like if you have something bad that you don't want to think about, or like a bad memory or something like that, and it's kind of like the mental equivalent of like an abscessed tooth or something. Like anytime your brain strays and touches the thought, it's kind of like if your tongue strays and touches this tooth, it creates pain and discomfort, and you have to learn how to eat around that tooth or whatever, and chewing on the outside of your mouth. It's kind of like a training process for your brain, where you have to learn Just stay away from just certain areas of thought. I think this is how, like, repressed memories are made. How we create social, like, how we create certain issues in our head. Alright, so that's 76. And we have a third feather. So, it's going to be a real race against what happens. Do we get the last 2 feathers? Or do we get the 5 kills we need? Stay tuned. Find out. Okay, here's this Avenger, probably the one that murdered me. Let me avenge myself against him. After this, what I'll do is we'll go turn these in, and then I'll just hearth to Stormwind, and we'll let it stay there. Plan out any travelings or whatever we have to do for the next time we touch on this character when she's ready to go to Ajara. But that will allow us to go over to Orgrimmar, to Ironforge, because we have enough cloth to help out the gnomes. Alright, so that's a 4th feather. And we're at 81. We need 14 guys or 1 more feather. Not 14 guys, I'm sorry. 4 more guys or 1 more feather. What will it be? 4 kills or 1 feather. I feel like it truly is a thanks. We managed to get ourselves cursed. Love it. To answer the question about the sadness in the games, this might just be me. Okay, 3 more kills or a feather. This might just be me, but one of the most poignant in recent memory. Dang it. Terrible. Gotta bounce. In recent memory, one of the most poignant quest lines in terms of sadness is the old man. It's a combination. It's some of the things that happen in Dragonflight that touch on the ideas of mortality. There are 2 quest lines in particular. There's one that you can complete over the course of a few weeks, which is this old orc, and I can't remember who his partner is in this. If it's another orc, if it's not an orc at all. And I don't even remember if the orc is really a dragon or really an orc or whatever, but essentially this orc is old and dying and maybe suffering some kind of memory issues. And over a few weeks you can kind of, 2 kills or a feather. You can kind of get him some things that are important to him. And his friend, and carry him to different parts of the little dragon city in, I don't think it's the capital, I think it happens at the hatchery in the first zone in Dragonflight. And then there's also the story of this old dragon that is in the form of a dwarf, and you just sit and listen to this story and sit on the edge and look out over the beautiful scenery. And he talks about, 1 more kill or 1 more feather. I feel like we might as well go for the last feathers. But, I don't know, actually, screw it. I feel like it's annoying that they brought us to 1 feather. Use a potion. Botch this. We did not get a feather. I'll try for 1 or 2 more kills. Just because I feel like otherwise I'm gonna sell a That's 4 stack of feathers. Come on. Jerks. But you sit there and he just kind of talks, and he tells a story about his a person he knew when he was young. It was a friend. It was a female. Perhaps they were also romantically interested, but I don't think that's central to the story. It doesn't really matter. But they were friends, and essentially when the War of the, not War of the Ancients, but the Dragon War happened, where we read that 5-part book series or whatever about it, or maybe it was just a trilogy. But when the proto-dragons turned against the higher dragons, they come on, give us 1 feather. He talks about how she essentially, like, betrayed, even though they grew up together and they were friends. She joined the opposite faction in this war, which ultimately became a civil war among the dragons. And she did something terrible, and I don't remember if he had to put her down or if she hurt other members of his family. Don't remember all of it. But he talks about it, and one of the things that he particularly, you can tell he's got these regrets and how he wishes she was, you know, he could go back to that time, or that it didn't have to go that way, or something. And he talks about how he can remember her face, he can remember very sensory type details about her, he can remember the way she made him feel, but that he can't remember her name. And there's just something about that that just gives me goosebumps. It's just in some ways so relatable and speaks to the betrayal of our own minds and like the ephemeral nature of memory itself. I just really like it. I don't know why. Okay, I'm done. I give up on this. I don't know why that one stuck with me so much. But I really just like sitting there, just talking with that dude and him telling his story. That one sticks with me. Probably more than anything else in all of these little storylines. That is a sad story. That one gets me in the gullet, and I spent a lot of my time with Warcraft over the past 20 years. So I feel like there's, as I grow, the game grows in like the same way. Alright, let's turn a bunch of our feathers in. Now the whole point of all of this is that we can go inside and turn in. There we go. We hit our neutrality. We are now neutral with Timbermaul, which means we can actually go inside and turn in the Deadwood ritual totem and the Winterfall ritual totem. That was the point of all of this, and we can officially be done. There's no other reward for doing everything that we did. Just being a completionist. Turn these in. We'll mark off the Spreadsheet. Another chunk of our insanity wrapped up. Is this person, Kernda, that will now talk to us? What do you seek, Paladin? Yes, Paladin, what can I assist you with? You walk among us peacefully, though there is assuredly something amiss. I sense something troubling. This totem. I recognize it as one of the Deadwoods, but it is thick with the stench of decay. Whatever foulness has turned our brethren against us is surely present in this object. We were wise to bring this to us, Contessa. Perhaps through study and ritual we can uncover what it is that pollutes the minds of our brethren. Thank you, friend. Please accept these offerings in exchange for your find. Cool. And the Winterfall. Paladin, you approach us in a peaceful manner, but I sense that you are here on matters that are grave and severe. You, for both Furbolg and human alike. What have you come to tell us? 3 of each for this one. This thing, it is in the shape of a Winterfall ritual totem, but it has been twisted by forces I cannot begin to comprehend. Whatever taint that has set the Winterfall against us is surely present in this object. Divine wisdom has brought both this and you to us, Contessa. We will study this object intently. Perhaps one day the Winterfall will rage against us no longer. Thank you, friend. Please accept these offerings in exchange for your benevolence. So between the two of them, get a handful of gold, 5 of each type of potion, and away we go. We have done it, ladies and gentlemen. We finished one of the most grindy aspects of any. Probably that's the most grindy thing we've done so far. It might not be the most grindy thing we ultimately do on this show, but it is a big necessary grind. So on the next one, when we visit her, we'll tram over to Ironforge and level up our paladin powers, as well as going and turning the gnomes in some cloth, since we have that. And on the next, after the next lore one, which we'll do tomorrow over the weekend, we will someone said they love the guild name. Hilarious. We will kick it over to our horde character this weekend. Alright, so that's another episode. I like that we're ending it on a positive note after all of the depression talk. Another episode of the Pipe 5x5. Peace out, guys.